All right, I'm going to work out day 23 warm-up. Just making a copy of it. Create a scanner, ask the user to enter the special phrase. All right, so scanner, you can name it anything, but I usually call it scan. Nice to have a line you don't have to think about. Ask the user to enter the special phrase. Println, please enter the phrase. Semicolon. Okay, and then string phrase equals scan.next line. It's out of the way. Okay, and then create a Boolean variable is good and set it to true. So that's just Boolean is good equals true. Great, 5 if-else statements, each one doing one of the following tests. If the test fails, set is good to false. Okay, so we're going to do all these tests, and then it's if-else. We're going to print, pass, fail for each one, and then if it fails, we're going to set the is good variable to false. And here's the thing, we're never going to set it to true again. We set it to true at the beginning, which is, it's called a flag variable, where you set something to true, then you do a bunch of tests, and then you check at the end, is it still true? If it is, then it passed all the tests. So the test we have to implement, if the string length is odd, if it's even, set it to false. So we can just check if it's even. If phrase.length modulo 2 equals 0, that means the string length is even, so we're going to set is good to false. So is good equals false. System.out.println length test fail. I know this can be a little confusing, but then we're going to say else. We're going to have the length test pass. I just copy that line, paste, triple click to get a whole line. Okay, so that's the first check. Second check, if the string is all lowercase. If it's not all lowercase, we're setting is good to false. So we can do a very similar thing. I'm going to just copy this whole thing just to save a little time. We just have to change this condition. So instead of, we're checking if it's not all lowercase. So I'm going to do this a little differently than I would have way back on day 23. But you'd say if, it would be lowercase if phrase.to lowercase equals phrase. So do you see that would be checking if it was lowercase? We're saying, hey, if the lowercase version of the string is exactly equal to the string, that means it's lowercase. I'm going to put a not in front though, because that way we're checking, hey, if it's not lowercase, we're going to set is good to false, and we're going to say case test fail, case test pass. All right, so again, this is like, hey, this expression right here is phrase in lowercase, and we're checking, hey, if phrase lowercase is exactly equal to phrase, that means it was already lowercase, and we put a not in front, and that's checking if it's not. And just for the record, you could also say this is the same sort of thing. If phrase to lowercase, this whole thing is a true or false statement. And then we could say, hey, if it's equal to false, then the test failed. I like to put that if you're going to be saying equal, false, you might as well just do a not in front. Keeps it simpler. All right, so we've done all the way up to here. Check if the first letter is the same as the last letter. If they are the same, set is good to false. Okay, So I'm again going to copy this because it's just easier than typing it all over again. So the first letter, if phrase dot substring 01, that's the first letter, dot equals phrase dot substring. Now the last letter, a little bit harder to get, but you get the length of phrase dot length -1. That's the last letter in a string. So we're saying, hey, if the first letter equals the last letter, is good as false. First, last letters fail. First, last letter pass. Okay. First letter is the same as the last letter. If they're the same, we set it to false. I know these are random, but we're just doing them one at a time. Check if the second character is a J. If not, set is good to false. Okay, so I'm going to just copy this again and paste it. Now, the second letter, if, so phrase dot substring letter, that's character 1, 2. Let's just get a little example here as a comment. At 0, 1, 2. Okay, so if I want just the second letter, I do substring 1, 2. So you start with the letter, the character you want, and you end one more than you need. So in this case, substring 1, 2 gives us the second letter. And I'm going to say dot equals J. All right, and we're supposed to be saying, hey, if it is not a J, set it to false. So I could either do equal false here, or I can do a not symbol. So I'm going to just do a not symbol. So if the first letter is not J, we're setting this thing to false. And second letter J test. Copying that. Okay, that's the fourth test. Check if the special phrase contains the word tiger. If it does not, set is good to false. All right, so we are almost done. I'm going to copy and paste, and you can tell if a phrase has something in it using index of. So index of, not J, but tiger. And it'll return a number. It returns -1 if something's not in a string. So if the index of tiger is -1, that means tiger is not in the phrase, and we just say false. And we could just call this the tiger test. Okay, so now comes the whole point of all that. After all the tests, use is good to report if the phrase is acceptable. So right here, we just can say if is good. We don't have to say equal true because we know it's a Boolean variable. So if is good. Now, it's not wrong to say equal true. It's just extra work. So we know it's a Boolean variable. So we say if is good. If it's still true, then we're going to say that the phrase is acceptable. And I'm going to say phrase is acceptable. I'm going to copy that line. I'm going to paste it right here. And I'm going to say is not acceptable. So let's see. I'm sure I forgot something somewhere. Like I just noticed I forgot the semicolons here. But let's try running. Yeah. If phrase substring 0 dot equals phrase substring phrase length. I can imagine I'm probably just missing a close paren on here. There's so many close parens. Let's just see if that fixes it. So I don't want to deal. Much better. All right, length test pass, case test pass, first, last letter pass. Second letter is not a J, there's no tiger. So the howdy partner is not acceptable. So let's try the phrase that I gave you in the example. TJ is a tiger, is acceptable. So I just gave you that way down here. TJ is a tiger was an acceptable phrase, and so I just happen to have it memorized. All right, well that's day 23 warm up.